Today we're going to talk about lesson 10.1, which is about stem and leaf plots. Now, if you look at these, they should look somewhat familiar because you guys have seen your test scores during the school year given to you in a stem and leaf plot. Let's read the definition. A stem and leaf plot uses the digits of data values to organize a data set. Each data value is broken into a stem, which is the digit or the digits that are on the left, right here, and a leaf, which is a digit or digits on the right. All of these are leaves. A stem and leaf plot shows how data are distributed. The key explains what the stem and leaves represent. So this key with a stem of 2 and a leaf of 0 represents a 20. So when we would look at these as if they were test scores, we would use the first stem number, put it with one of the leaves, and the two numbers together would give you a test score. We're going to make a stem and leaf plot, and it's for the length of 12 different phone calls that were made on a cell phone. So you can see the table here with all the data of how long these cell phone calls were. And it's kind of nice if you can look for the highest and the lowest amounts. So as I scan through these, looking for the highest and the lowest, it looks like on July 11th, a 2-minute call was the shortest. And then it looks like we go all the way up to 55. So here's how we're going to work through this process. We put all those data points in order. You can see 2 is the smallest all the way up to 55. Once you have them in order, you have to choose the stems and the leaves. Because the data values range all the way from 2 up to 55, we're going to use the tens digit for the stems, and the ones digits will be the leaves. We'll make sure we show that in our key. So we would write our stems to the left of the line here. So I started with 0 all the way continuously up to 5. You cannot skip any of these numbers here. It has to be consecutive, or consecutive means in order. So as I order the stems vertically, the stem for data values that are less than 10 would go here with the 0. Be sure you include stems without leaves. So even though we don't have any scores that were in minutes of phone calls that were in the 40 range, we still include that. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and write all the leaves. So the first call the shortest was 2 minutes. So 0 and 2 makes 2. Then we had a 3-minute call, 5-minute call, 6-minute call, a 10-minute call, a 14-minute call, 18-minute call, and so on, all the way to our 55-minute call. Down here, this is important. We have the key, which tells us if you take one stem number and put it with one of the leaves, in this case, a 1 and a 4, that represents a 14-minute call. Now, knowing how to make these is nice, but it's also nice to be able to answer questions about the data that you see. So we're going to look at this one, and as I said, it looks very similar to ones you guys have seen in class with test scores. It says the stem and leaf plot shows student test scores, and we're going to answer a few questions. A, how many students scored less than 80 points? B, how many students scored at least 90 points? And C, how are the data distributed? So we're going to look for part A. How many students scored less than 80 points? Well, if I were to draw a line right here, all of the leaves up here above that line would be all of those that are less. So you would count up all of those leaves and count them all, each of those up, and see how many you would have. How many students scored less than 80 points? There's 5. For part B, how many students scored at least 90 points? Well, I'm going to move this line here. The lowest score we want is 90 points. So we're looking now at all of these scores down here. They got at least a 90. So we've got a 90, a 92, a 99, a 100. How many are there? There would be 4 scores. Part C asks, how are the data distributed? Now, this is sometimes something that students don't fully understand, but you take a look at it, and you can see there are a few low test scores. There's a few high test scores, but most of those scores are in the middle. So it's asking you to kind of look specifically at the information and see what you have. Here's one other question that we're going to look at with interpreting data from a stem and leaf plot. Here we have a stem and leaf plot that shows plant heights, and the plant heights, they range all the way from 1 inch being the smallest, all the way to 36 being the tallest. And we are being asked which of these statements is not true. So A says most of the plants are less than 20 inches tall. Well, if I were to draw a line, is it not true that most of them are less than 20? I think it looks like a lot of them are under 20. So I'm going to say, don't think so. B, the median plant height is 11 inches. Now, if you guys remember, when we find median, you start with the highest, you put them in order from least to greatest, but then you start knocking out the highest and the lowest, the highest, lowest, until you find the middle. Well, if I count these up, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 numbers. So if you were to find the middle, it would be, out of 15 numbers, it would be the 8th number. So I'm going to count to the 8th number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I am seeing that the median is not 11, but instead I'm finding that the median is right here. It's 10. So right now it's looking to me like this is the true one. Part C, the range of the plant heights is 35. Well, the range would be 36 minus 1, which is 35. I think that's true. Part D, the plant heights that occur most often is 11. Oh, definitely. I see the mode is that. So I would agree that B is our answer. Today, what you're going to do is a Khan Academy lesson. You're going to need to get 70% or higher for full credit. You can continue to redo the lesson until you have achieved so.